Whether you're a professional speaker, someone who trembles at the thought of any form of public speaking, or you just like to improve your personal communication skills, welcome. Our very special guest today has greatly evolved in his presentation capabilities. He has a compelling story and gives us tangible proof that we can overcome even the toughest of life's obstacles. Oftentimes, those barriers and conditions that you are told are insurmountable. Abel Gonzales is a young man who has conquered some pretty dire circumstances to literally become a warrior, an American ninja warrior. And he has leveraged the passion that serves him to help others also become victorious. Abel joins us via Skype today. He's been kind enough to take a break from some pretty important training that he's doing in preparation for American Ninja Warrior Season 7. Abel, before we deep dive into your story, tell us where you are and what you're doing in Florida.
I'm over here doing some special training for the show. It's coming up in about 3 weeks on the 28th and 29th for this coming season. And I knew that I just needed a little bit more help to make it to the final stage, and that's where I'm here. I'm here with a very famous trainer named Abel Gonzales. And he really focuses on breathing patterns. And as far as my abilities go, I figured that was my weakest point because I really already have all the abilities to beat all the obstacles. But if breathing is in a bad pattern, then that could affect me when I'm running the course. Okay. So that's why I'm here.
Let's help the audience get to know you a little bit better. Tell me where you were born. Where do you come from?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1983. I lived there until I was 10 years old. And when my parents got divorced, I ended up moving to Texas. Okay. And I've been there for about 21 years.
My head doesn't work that quickly. You're a lot younger than I am. You're how old are you now?
31 years old.
That's amazing. 31 in my book is still pretty young, but for an athlete to put your body through what you're doing, that's pretty rigorous. So I applaud you for that. You touched on your family situation. I know there was a divorce in the early years, and that's a real key part of your story. You ended up taking care of your brothers and your siblings, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my parents are young parents. They had me when my dad was 17 and my mom was 14 when I was born. So when I was 10 years old, the relationship had already broken down, and my father he wasn't the best father at that time. And my mom decided to leave him. And from there, the family just split in half, like right down the middle. And that was very traumatic for me, being the older brother, used to having my 3 younger brothers around me all the time. So as we were separated, 2 stayed in Chicago, the 2 younger ones, and then me and my other brother right under me, Matthew, were sent to Texas to live. And it was very traumatic. The divorce itself was more traumatic than it had to be. My father ended up, doing some bad things, and he ended up going to jail for that. So while my mom stayed with the younger kids in Chicago, we were kind of parentless, living in Texas with family members. I was 10 years old at that time.
Wow. So you really sort of had to grow up pretty quickly, didn't you?
Yeah. That was something that I had always felt that like my childhood was taken from me. Ended up moving around a lot. I ended up moving away from most of my family and my parents when I was about 14. And in order to pay rent and things like that, I would work side jobs like cut grass or babysit until I was legally able to work when I was 16.
So, and we'll talk about this more, but that whole mentality of overcoming obstacles and your determination sounds like it got started at a real early age. And we'll get more to your determination and how that works in your American Ninja Warrior pursuit. So let's just make it a little bit lighter here. Tell me what gets your goat, what frustrates you, and it could be something in the past or something in your current endeavors with American Ninja Warrior or speaking. Just what gets to you?
What gets me frustrated? Yeah, I do get frustrated with training, and especially with breathing. I've learned lately, within the last year or so, that a lot of my breathing patterns are in reverse. So that can be triggered by trauma. And I did have a traumatic life growing up. So I'm here with Abel Gonzales, who is one of the experts on breathing and breaking those patterns. And I've been here about a week now, and I've seen some incredible results, things that I've never felt before in my body when I've been training it for 9 years specifically. So it's really great to be here and learn that not only is my breathing pattern, can it be fixed, but that it's also going to be that one last step to get me to the top.
That's exciting. There's somebody I'm going to follow on Facebook tonight and LinkedIn. Yes. It sounds like a good person to know. All right, so let's flip that coin. What delights you? What absolutely gives you great pleasure?
Um, like I said, I do have a lot of fun training. Doing obstacles is very addicting. It's fun. It gets you strong and healthy without you even really knowing it. So they're fun. It's just a great way to train. But I love being with my family. I love going to birthday parties, to the movies with them and things like that. I've been kind of a homebody. Even though I've traveled so much, it's always about going back home to Texas. And even while I'm out here, I've been out here about a week, and I have dreams of playing with my little cousins, you know. So that's kind of one of those things that I don't take for granted. In my life, I had kind of felt like that I had lost family. So I don't take it for granted. Being with family is one of those things that keeps me going.
That's great. That's great. And we have a picture of you that I was really drawn to, because to me it just shows such tremendous joy in your face as you're on the obstacles. And thank you for sharing, by the way, some of the media that you did with me, but I want to share that with the audience too, because you just, you really can see that enthusiasm and that exuberance as you're, I think you're doing a finger hang. So
Yeah.
that's great. Something else that I think I'd like for you to share with us, you did a post last night on Facebook, and by the way, I saw that you were working very, very late. You were writing an article at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. But you wrote in a post, a Facebook post last night. If you could just take an excerpt from that about your training, I think it's really telling.
It felt as if my whole life I was training for something, training to be the best possible athlete with this body I was given, mostly by myself, in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, in the snow, in the middle of the night, sometimes missing my friends and family's birthday parties or get-togethers, while friends were clubbing or even on the road when I was gone because of my old job. I would train even though I worked 90 hours that week. I always found a way to make time.
That's great, Abel. I mean, that really speaks to your dedication. So let's, by the way, you're really poetic. I really appreciate your writing capabilities, as I've been watching you over the past 10 months from when I first met you last summer. I really appreciate your skill and your marketing capabilities. We'll talk about that in just a little bit later. So tell me how did you get started competing? How did that all start for you?
I was able to watch Ninja Warrior YouTube videos, and I always saw that as one of the most amazing things that people could possibly do. Some of those obstacles are definitely impossible for 99% of the country or population, period. And being an athlete growing up and really trying to take my body to the next level, I knew that that was the pinnacle. It doesn't matter what body type. If you can figure out a way to conquer obstacles like that, you can pretty much do anything. And I fell in love with it. I watched it for about 2 years, and then NBC had this special last year, USA versus the World, and they opened the casting call. And I was actually watching that live, and I was like, man, I can do this. I know I can do it.
Your first season competing was season 6, right?
Yeah, it was last season, season 6.
Okay. And you went on, and not everybody in the audience may know what a walk-on is, but you went on as a walk-on, right?
Yeah, there's only 2 ways to get on the show, and it's nearly impossible. You have to send in an online application with a video, and there's about 10 to 15,000 sent in, so they got to watch it and pick just 500. And the chances of getting picked are very small. And I knew that going into it, but I thought my video was good enough. So when I didn't get a call, I had already made connections inside the ninja community to find out what was going on so that I could be one of the first in line. And I ended up finding out that Dallas was the location, and that there was already 3 people in line about 5 days before the actual filming started. So I said, well, this is the only other way to get on the show, and I know I could do it. There's no reason for me not to go. So I ended up driving to Dallas with my friend Nathan Hasso, and we waited in line for 5 days. I was the 3rd person in line, and he was the 4th person. And we got our chance in the qualifying, and we both beat it, both of us. We were the first 2.
So that in itself speaks to the commitment that you have right at the get-go of this process to getting into the American Ninja Warrior scene. And what other kind of commitments have you learned are required in this endeavor?
I think one of the main ones is to really believe in yourself and know that you're taking the right steps to do your actual goal. So you have to write things down. You have to read books about goal setting and accomplishing goals. And that's one thing that I've been doing now lately is listening to audiobooks while I drive, because I drive across the country and things like that. And it helps me kind of read without having to actually read. But audiobooks are great. And I'm listening to Goals right now by Brian Tracy. And that's one book that you'll want to listen to and then listen to again with the notepad. That way you can take notes. But if you believe in yourself and you take the right steps, there's really almost nothing you can't accomplish. And I've already kind of approved that, but there's just some more things that I do want to do. And then those are just for now. Who knows what I'll accomplish after that?
Well, I know you have some really big goals, and I really support you in that for what it means from afar here, and I know a lot of people do. So right now what I want to do is just to give people a sense of the experience. There's a great piece of video that you provided me with some awesome music in the background, and let's just take a moment. It's about 1.5 minute video, so let's have a look at that and let our audience get a sense of that excitement, especially if they haven't watched American Ninja Warrior, which hopefully they will this season. But let's have a look at that clip.
Zed's dead, baby.
So Abel, if that video doesn't get people excited about, at the very least, watching American Ninja Warrior or going to their local obstacle course, nothing else will. Hopefully they'll actually watch you on the show, because that, I know that got me pretty revved up. That's a great piece of video. Kudos to whoever made it, by the way. I want to talk about your passion. I mean, clearly that comes through in the things that we've already talked about. So you overcame a lot of pretty dire obstacles. What are the formative obstacles that you faced? What really set you in place for what you're going through now? Is there one thing, or is there a cluster of trials that you got through?
I would say there's two major ones that really kind of changed my whole my whole view on life, really. There's a few other ones that I don't really talk about too much, but these two are pretty easy to talk about. The first one was when my brothers didn't want to be around me anymore. I was such a negative person. Wow. When I was in my early 20s that, these guys, these guys, my little brothers, I got legal custody of them and tried to get them through high school and all these things, and worked hard and had to leave home to work and sent money home and things like that. But when I would get back and they didn't want to be around me, I was just so negative. And the younger brother right under me, his name is Abel Gonzales. He's a very wise young man for a little brother. He told me straight out, he was like, hey, Eddie and Jacob, they don't want to be around you. You're too negative. They just don't want to be around you. And to me, that was just one of those things that was a wake-up call.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, how could I pretty much sacrifice all of this, in my life, and them not even want to be around me? So it really, really questioned or made me question, who was I? Why was I so negative? And then from there, I just looked into how do I change that? I study people that, write books. There are a lot of books and articles and YouTube videos that you can look into to change your perspective on life, so that not only are you not negative, but you're a light now. Now you can help people because you went through it. So that was one of those big things. And that was in my I think I was probably about 24 around that time. And then the one before that. So they were really, really close, they're in succession. But being diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis was devastating.
Well, that's I'm sure was probably, my guess is that was really a cause for a lot of the anger and having to deal with that at a very, very young age. There's probably some folks watching this show that don't know what rheumatoid arthritis is and how it affects a person. Can you give us a quick snapshot of how that impacted you?
Yeah, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. It's very rare, and it's even more rare in men, but it's spontaneous. You can get it at almost any age in your life, and it usually has a trigger. So that's why it's so different from other autoimmune diseases where they're kind of slow. This one can be very fast, and really your body just starts destroying your joints in front of your eyes. When I explain it to students as I'm speaking, I tell them to imagine your fingers and your in your hand breaking little by little every day. So the pain is there, and it hurts so much that you can no longer physically control your hand movement. So then they lock up, and that's what it seems like, but they're really not locked up. They just don't want to move because it hurts to move. So I took painkillers for about 2 years before I went to actually get diagnosed. And when I got diagnosed, it just made so much sense. I shouldn't have had that kind of pain at that young age. When I got diagnosed, it was really, it really triggered anger and questioning, even a deeper questioning, like, why is this happening to me? And why would someone tell me that there's nothing they can do for me, a professional? I was told by that doctor that there's nothing they can do for me because rheumatoid arthritis is incurable, and all they can do is either do prescription medications or prescription painkillers. And I was so confused, and I was 23 with really no adult supervision other than my own. So I just took the painkiller prescription. But as I got in my car that day, I literally just said, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to be in a wheelchair, and I'm not going to lose my movement by the time I'm 30 years old, because that's what I was told. I threw the prescription away, didn't even get it, and I never went back to the doctor. I just started to study.
That is such an amazing story, and I've read some of what you've written about this, because you chose not to buy in to that diagnosis, and that it didn't have to be true. And to me, that sounds like such a valuable lesson for folks, regardless of what they're facing. They don't have to buy into that story that you can't. This is going to happen to you.
Yeah, definitely. When I tell that story at the schools, even at middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, the students literally tell me afterwards, that's the most powerful thing they've ever heard. So, and me, it was just me saying that to myself. It wasn't to them. But I'm glad that they can feel how powerful that was, to be able to take command and take control and realize that it's my body, it's my fate. I can work hard and make something happen.
That's great, and I'm glad you're sharing that message with young folks. We'll talk in a little bit about your presentation and public appearances. Real quickly, tell us about your recovery today. I mean, I saw something that you wrote about pizza days and bacon cheeseburger days. How do you treat your recovery briefly today?
Yeah, as far as rheumatoid arthritis goes, I literally am symptom free, and that's hard for a lot of people to believe. But the only time I ever feel anything or am reminded that I had this that I have this disease is when I overtrain, maybe 3-4 days in a row. Then I'll start to feel some slow ache in my hands, and that'll be the sign that, hey, it slowed down, because it's still there. You have to control it. Right. So yeah, I have to stay really strict on my diet in most cases, but I do have certain days where I'll splurge on certain foods, because that helps me keep my sanity in a way, because it's kind of hard to eat healthy 100% time. And when I tell people that you don't have to be perfect to be healthy and fit and strong, you don't have to be perfect. You just got to really find what works for your body and go with it. And I do have a pizza day twice a month where all I eat is an entire large pizza in about 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a fun diet. I think I might try that. Well, listen, let's move on to, you're out there talking to young kids. I've seen that you have a multifaceted message. You've got, you're sporting your t-shirt, "We are all able." You talk about nutrition, you talk about overcoming obstacles. So what is the core message? Is there one message that unites all of those pieces?
Yeah, really, I try to get the audience to learn to be grateful for life, to appreciate it, the fact that they were given this opportunity. Once you can do that, pretty much you can do anything. There's nothing that can stop you, because you are really the only thing that can stop yourself from accomplishing your goal. And once you understand that, you can help others too, unconsciously, without even trying, just by them watching you. And that's kind of to the point where I've gotten where I don't even have to be there in person. They can watch my videos and things and be inspired, and then I'll get messages. But it's great to tell them and stand in front of them and show them that I'm here. I'm a real person, and look at what I was able to do. And I'm telling you right now that you can do greater than I ever will do.
That's fantastic. I love how you're lifting other people up. Tell us about the Human Movement Center or the Ground Zero Gym. I don't know if they're the same thing.
Yeah, Ground Zero Gym is our location where we train, and the main focus on it is enhancing human movement, which is therapeutic. But in the cover is that you're doing obstacles. Obstacles are way deeper as far as human movement goes, as making the body get healthier, almost forcing it to get healthier. So it's really cool, and human movement is a big thing going on right now, where people are focusing on not how strong they can actually be or how they can carry these giant weights, but do they move fluidly? Do they have control of the movement? Do they know where everything's at? Can they do things with their eyes closed? So really the ultimate thing is Ninja Warrior is that test of how good is your human movement.
You know, that's awesome, Abel, because I think, there's a great disparity in our ages, obviously, I think, but that movement and keeping moving really talks to an aging population as well. And we're gonna look at a video here for just a quick moment where you've invited people to come to your Ground Zero Gym. And I appreciate your reaching out to the community, certainly your local community, to participate in that. So let's have a look at that for just a moment.
Inviting you guys out to come train with us tonight at Ground Zero Gym in Edinburgh, Texas, from 7 till 9 p.m. As you can see, we have all these obstacles out here. We'll come out, practice, have fun, see what it's like to train like a ninja, get advice, beat obstacles.
I've seen you say that whether you're tall or short, boy or girl, there's technique that can be learned to accomplish any obstacle. And I'm hazarding a guess that that's a key part of the message that you take as you're out talking to folks, right?
Yeah, the whole human movement thing is that if you have a body, then you can be good at human movement. So it really doesn't have any type of discrimination, age. Even at our gym, we have grandchildren climbing on a rock wall with their grandparents on the wall in front of them. So it's really cool. It's very universal, and it's for everybody. And once you can get that, you do become like a kid again. That's why when you see me in the obstacles, I have this grin or something, and you can see the joy. But I feel like a big kid that got his movement back after it being taken from him.
That's awesome. I love that. In fact, I've got family down in Corpus Christi and in Austin, so I might just have to come out and visit you out there. It sounds like good therapy.
Yeah, and the thing about it, where we're located, basically at the bottom of the country in the very tip of Texas, everything is far away from us. So even if you were in Corpus or Austin, you got a couple hours, but it'd be great to have you down there, and anybody who wants to go can always visit.
Well, and you can just listen to a Brian Tracy tape as you're driving, right?
There you go, yeah.
All right, let's talk about, I'm so impressed about your approach to marketing and business in my observations of you. So tell me, and I think you've answered this, but who is your audience for the marketing, the message that you're looking to get out? Is it multiple audiences, or is it just somebody that has bones and skin?
Yeah, really, it's for everyone. I mean, when I sit down and write down the list of things that I had to go through in life, somebody has gone through that too. Even a lot of people don't know, but when I was, I think, in my early 20s, probably 21, 20s, when I was the most overweight, I was 186 pounds. And my body fat was about close to 30%. And I'm 36 pounds lighter now.
Oh my
so
gosh.
They don't know that. So if you were ever overweight, then yeah, you can listen to me. You can connect with me. Again, I have an autoimmune disease. And a lot of people, millions of people have autoimmune diseases. and usually they're all very similar. So if I can help overcome my autoimmune disease, then maybe I can help you overcome your conditions as well. It might not be the same path, but you can follow it and see how it works for you. And that's when I always work on trying to get people to try new things. Just try. It may not be exactly the same, but just try. It might work. And that's what I went into as trying to overcome my rheumatoid arthritis. Excellent.
All right, so you've taken on a role of, you're a ninja warrior, you're a motivational speaker. Talk about how your transition to become a business person and a marketer, because I think you're doing those things quite well. I see you highly involved in social media. Time management's got to be critical for you. How do you work? How did you evolve into those roles?
Well, and then again, another thing that people don't know about me too much is that with my younger brothers, when I did take care of them, we started a trend of filming road trips. We were filmers, so I would film the road trip, and my brothers would skate. They were skateboarders, and one of my brothers is very, very good. You know, he was a national champion at one point. So I did that as a hobby. Then as I started working away from home and things, and my brothers ended up taking care of it themselves. So one would film and the other would skate. And now they have a very successful YouTube channel called Major. And because we went through that, creating that whole business aspect, I was able to transition it easily to what I'm doing now individually. So that's kind of where that came from. We do read books and we study and watch a lot of YouTube videos on what's effective and what isn't. And the only thing that I can see that's as far as my progress is that I'm doing everything by myself. If I were to have a little bit more help here and there, sure, I'd probably go be a little bit more faster as far as followers and things. But the way I see it is that I'm still on the correct path. I'm going to keep on going forward with progress.
Really, believe me, it sounds, from what I see, it looks like you've got a team of people working with you. So I applaud you. And like I said, I saw that my time last night was midnight, and you had just finished posting an article to ninjaathlete.com, your second article, as you said. And that kind of leads us to community. So let's talk about community. You've got, as I see it, international, and Ninja Warrior now, there's an international association. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, the community is very large. It was very spread out, though. And if you hadn't been involved with the show or these local training centers, then you really didn't know what was going on with the actual show. So as we, like me personally coming into the scene last year, I was then invited to a lot of groups on Facebook that focus on, helping each other out. But if you weren't on Facebook or you weren't invited, then you would never know. That's how I didn't know anything about it before then either. So what's going on now is that we have a website that's universal for everyone, that's interested, not just you have to be friends with so-and-so on Facebook. So it's just about bringing everybody together in a more wide and wider base so that everybody can help each other before they're ever, even on the scene.
And if someone's not a Ninja Warrior, can they still act as an observer to that website?
Yeah, if they're just fans of the show, what they'll get from the website is not only like schedules and events and things where they can maybe meet ninjas, because they're competing at a local event that they wouldn't have known of if they weren't on the Facebook thing, in the Facebook group. So it's a great way for fans to connect with us and maybe even our perspectives, which is what I write on. I write on Ninja Life and Health on the website. And I give them, because I'm one of the full-time ninjas as far as how many go into it. I don't work anymore, and my job is not only ninja, but speaking. So as a full-time ninja, it's great to show that point of view to the fans so they can see what it's really like.
Excellent. And we'll make sure that our viewers can see that website so that they can get to it. Now, regional-wise, that's where I first met you, and we're going to show in the background here as we're talking the clip from the Central California Ninja Warrior training camp that happened in Clovis, California in July of 2014. And I know I've seen other clips of you and other pictures of you, where you're participating in regional events, and it sounds like that's a big part of what you do.
Yeah, I do like competing outside of the show. That was my first time actually competing outside of the show in California in Covis. It was a great learning experience, and it helps with alleviating some of the pressure of competing, of being filmed, in front of hundreds of people and things like that. It also helps you with gaining confidence on the course.
That's
So it was definitely important for me to go out and train and compete as much as I can across the country.
That's great. I would imagine it gives you exposure to a lot of different types of obstacles because they're not all the same. And I am so impressed with the ninja community. We have a great picture that was done by Convex Photography at the end of that event that shows a big group of folks. So we'll flash that up on the screen for folks here as we wrap up. Your local efforts are primarily involved with your gym and the human movement effort. Is that Ground Zero Gym, et cetera? Is that right?
Yeah, I would say Ground Zero Gym is my hub where I do all of my media and training, and also where the general public can come and hang out with me, just meet me, and things like that. I put my schedule out when I'm there so they all can know. I'm not trying to hide from anything or anything like that. It's a great to connect with them, and then it opens up more doors.
Good.
So, yeah, and also again I speak as well at schools and things like that. I remember there was a 2-month span there where I spoke every week, so I must have spoken to 1,500 kids every week for 2 months. So it was really cool.
Well, you're a perfect straight man because you're taking me right where I wanted to go. And my show is about helping people improve their communication skills. And they might be confused as to why I'm speaking to an American Ninja Warrior, but I've been impressed with how you've garnered everything you've done, and you've really taken advantage of your story, your message, and taking it out to a broad audience. So you did some public appearances last year that were pretty exciting with L'Oreal Cosmetics, and you got to meet with Eva Longoria. Is that, I've seen those pictures. That was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that was a great experience, and it was a charity event, and I did donate, something for charity. But I was invited out to that, and when you're trying to continue I was trying to continue the success from the show and keep on going. There was no way I could say no to that. So I found a way. It was hard for me to go out there, but I found a way to get out there and make it happen. And then you get to meet lots of other people. So it was a great experience, and they treated me like royalty there, just so you know. It was great. It was really cool.
That is fantastic. I don't think it's probably every American Ninja Warrior that gets treated like a celebrity the way that you do. Now, you told me that I saw that you did a presentation. Your largest presentation was not that long ago in front of an audience of 510 people. Is that right?
Yeah, they were I'm not going to say brightest and the up-and-coming high school, but they were some very special students involved in a school down in Texas. Actually, in all the schools of the valley where I live, and it was 510, and it was a 2-part presentation.
Wow!
So it was 2 45-minute presentations with a lunch break, which I had lunch with them, and that's where that photo came from.
So tell me a little bit about what it's like, because I don't sense that you have any formal training as a presenter. What natural skills have you brought to the table in doing these presentations?
I mean, being a speaker and people wanting to hear my story, it's just basically me telling my story as it happened. I try to make it as fluid as possible. It is very confusing, even for me. Sometimes I don't remember where I was at that year, because I moved around so much. And I can even tell people right now that in high school, 4 years of high school, I went to 5 different high schools growing up.
Wow.
So it's really hard for me to pinpoint exactly where I was at, so I don't go into too much detail. But I do. I try to keep the flow going with how my life got me to where I'm at now, what I plan on doing, and then I like to show Ninja Warrior stuff because that's just really catchy, and it applies to everybody because everybody moves. So it's really fun. It really is, and you have to be confident, but it's not hard to be confident when you know what you're talking about and you know it to be true to you deep down.
That's great, and I'm going to extract from that because I think for people who are wanting to develop their skills, whether they're again that kind of nervous Nelly at the podium or someone who's accomplished, it's really about being yourself. I think that's the way we can connect with people, and you do, just in the conversations we've had, you do so well at that, and I applaud you.
Thank you.
Do you have any words of advice for someone who is nervous about presenting? You've obviously gotten into some very lofty and large audiences. So what do you do to calm your nerves?
Just understand that even I'm nervous, so nervousness is going to be there. It's not something that I don't plan on getting away don't plan on getting rid of it right away. Be patient with yourself. But there are a lot of material out there, YouTube and great speakers that you can get advice from. And it could be just one quote that can change your whole mentality and maybe eliminate that nervousness. So really look into it, study, read from the best, study, and just know that what you're saying is true to your heart. Then it's just a conversation with a lot of people. So it's cool. It's fun.
I love that because it is about a conversation. I've been in Toastmasters for a number of years, and one of the little sayings we kick around is that we don't get rid of the butterflies, we just teach them to fly in formation. And I think allowing yourself to be nervous and not fight with that is okay, because people are fighting for you. They want you to succeed.
Really a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves in most things that we do to demand perfection. Perfection is impossible. So just do your best. Do your best.
Abel, you've given us so much today. I think for just day-to-day life, if someone's dealing with obstacles, whether they be a physical disability, an emotional concern, I think you really model something worthwhile listening to, following, looking into, and taking some of the same steps that you have. As we close here, can you tell us what you've got lined up for the future?
Yeah, I do plan on winning the show. That's a big one. There's a 0% chance of me winning, but there was a lot of things that I was told were impossible growing up. And I've already overcome some of those things. So I'm not going to take a negative view at this. I know I can win the show. And once I do win the show, my audience will grow. I'll inspire more and more, and hopefully, inspire them to change their point of view on life. That's the biggest thing. Once we can do that, we'll all be happier. But appreciate and be grateful for life. It's just so huge, because then you basically can answer all the questions that you have. You just got to study and look into it.
Abel, I know you've been working really hard this week, and you still have, another week of your training camp, is that right?
I'm going to be here about another 2 weeks, and then I'll be competing in Houston for qualifying. Hopefully I'll get past that. That'll get me to the Vegas finals, where I'll, hopefully beat that too, And then from there, I do want to speak more consistently. I do have a lot of joy talking about my story, and there are some things that I do have a hard time talking about with still, because of the experience of the emotions that come up. But I'm working on it, and it's always about progress. But I do want to do that. I also want to compete in Japan at one point. I want to represent America over there.
Yes.
And that'd be great. That's just one of those things that I've always wanted to do. And then from there, I'll probably have a book. I am working on a nutritional program as well that I use to get to where I'm at. And it'll have all of the same mentalities that not only that I learned, but some that I connected to my life that might not be very obvious for most people. So I want to continue writing, speaking, and go from there. There's going to be options that I can't even think of right now that are going to pop up in opportunities. So I'm just looking forward to the best.
Well, Abel, I'm glad to be amongst many of your well-wishers and encourage you to just continue that route, and thank you for the things you've shared with us. And we've displayed for our audience the ways people can find out more about you. Stay tuned to the airing of the competition of Season 7 that's coming up this summer, and I wish you the best. I want to see you on the top of Mount Midoriyama.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And it's people like you and all the support that I get that I know I can do it.
Great. Well, have a great training session, and I'll be talking with you later. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed, as did I, listening to Abel Gonzales. I'm so impressed with the wisdom that comes from a person at a young age. I consider 31 a young age. Abel, if you're still watching or listening. But he's really overcome some tremendous obstacles, and it's encouraging. I think it's something that we can apply widely. These are the type of messages we want to bring to you on Your Pro Voice. I don't know about you, but I learned some things today about doing presentations and finding that ease and the truth, and having a conversation with someone is really what it's about in most presentations. People are rooting for us. We don't need to be real formal in most cases again, and just keeping it real. So thanks, Abel, for keeping it real and for sharing your pro voice today. Come back.